What's going on, family? How's everybody feeling? Y'all liking the music and the groove and the tunes so far? I know that you are. This is Third Sundays, January 19, 2020. Reggae, Afrobeat, and Jazz, hashtag Raj Sundays. And you are tuned into the King LiKuiD Show, and I'm your man, King LiKuiD. That's LiKuiD, the K for the King, not the Q for the Queen. And I hope everyone is having a great Sunday. They're enjoying the music. The music is touching them, uplifting them, re-energizing them, for another week to come. Don't forget, family, tomorrow is the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., an important day. Make sure that y'all stay tuned in because I've got a King's Decree segment that I hope y'all will enjoy, where I get into some of the other aspects of Dr. King that really aren't reflected on too much during this time of the year because everyone is so busy saying, I have a dream, I have a dream, I have a dream. So make sure y'all stay tuned for that. Fam, I'd like to go ahead on and get into this week's edition of King LiKuiD Show Weekly News. All right, family. First up, St. Louis prosecutor files a Ku Klux Klan Act federal suit because she is undergoing discrimination in the city of St. Louis. This sister's name is Kimberly Gardner, and she filed suit this past week against the city of St. Louis, and she is filing a federal lawsuit because, long story short, family, she thinks that she cannot get any justice there within St. Louis or even at the state level. She wants to take it to the federal level. So this is a story that was published January 13th, 2020 in the St. Louis American. Gardner files federal suit via Ku Klux Klan Act. A prosecutor alleges broad campaign of collusive conduct. And let's see here. And just so y'all know, I'm actually going and pulling this story up. I'm reading it online. Circuit Attorney Kimberly Gardner has filed a federal lawsuit through the Ku Klux Klan Act, alleging a civil rights conspiracy at the hands of a lengthy list of entities: the City of St. Louis, the St. Louis Police Officers Association, the police union's spokesman Jeffrey Roida, retired police officer Charles Lane, special prosecutor Gerard Carmody, and his children and employees Patrick Carmody and Ryan Carmody. Gardner alleges that her attempts to address St. Louis's long history of racial inequality and prejudice in the criminal justice system have been met with a broad campaign of collusive conduct to get her out of office before she can implement her progressive agenda. This allegedly includes the unprecedented appointment of a white, ethically conflicted special prosecutor to investigate the activities of Gardner's office and a patently overboard and unconstitutional ransacking of the office's electronic files. Let me read that one more again, family. This allegedly includes the unprecedented appointment of a white, ethically conflicted special prosecutor to investigate the activities of Gardner's office and a patently overboard and unconstitutional ransacking of the office's electronic files. So what that ultimately means is somebody was picked, pretty much a white redneck racist was picked to be a special prosecutor to investigate the activities of Gardner's office. So essentially, hey, this black woman believes that she has the right to come and hold us accountable for what our birthright is, and our birthright is white imperialism, which means that we should be able to have the law don't apply to us. We should be able to have the right to be barbaric and savage with impunity. And if a black person comes up and says, no, I'm going to start holding you accountable, I'm going to start applying the law to you, I'm going to put a stop to your corruption, well, that in and of itself is unacceptable. But a black woman telling us that and actually understanding how our system is, that's incomprehensible. Now it's just time to become savage barbarians. Just break out the Klan hood. Let's light torches on fire. It's time for another Charlottesville. Jews will not replace us. Okay? So that was this story from the St. Louis American. And an additional a follow-up story, and this is good to see. There were, and this is another story from the St. Louis American, there was a black female reform prosecutors come to St. Louis to defend Kimberly Gardner. So this additional article, black female reform prosecutors come to St. Louis to defend Kimberly Gardner. So you had State's Attorney of Baltimore, Marilyn Mosby, who came forward and confessed that she had tried to do the same thing there in Baltimore. And all of a sudden, there's this coordinated effort by everyone who's white. I'm sure she has a list similar to what Sister Kimberly Gardner has here of a coordinated effort between the police union. I'm willing to bet that the police union was somehow involved in going against her, just like it is with this sister, because when they tell us as black people, hey, this police violence and this state-sponsored terror is hitting us in LA, Detroit, St. Louis, Chicago, Baltimore, Philly, Atlanta, every place, Houston, every place where our people is at. The white imperialist tells us, no, it's not. That's not true. You Negroes are imagining it. So why is it you have sisters from around the country, like Attorney of Baltimore, Marilyn Mosby, who's come to the defense and the aid and to work in conjunction with Kimberly Gardner and say, hey, we're dealing with the same thing too. And there were another 6 to 10 prosecutors who also came out there. I won't get into the length and the breadth of this specific story because I really just wanted to focus on what's going on with Sister Kimberly Gardner. But the lie that we black folk are just imagining this stuff, no, it's right there. It's in our face. Let's get into the next topic. iHeart Radio is having national layoffs. And I wanted to get into this story real quick, family, because it definitely impacts what I do and what y'all appreciate, which is black-owned community radio and the efforts and the steps that we're taking to bring about the rise of intelligent black-owned community radio. So this story was published in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and it was published on January 15th, 2020. iHeart Media's U.S. radio layoffs extend to St. Louis. So there were some layoffs in St. Louis, some layoffs in Denver. The story talks about how there's restructuring, and these layoffs are ultimately happening due to digital media, the rise of artificial intelligence, which ultimately means that DJs can be replaced now by an AI. I'm just going to say this right now. There is no artificial intelligence that can replace the confidence, the tenacity, the ability, the focus, the love, and the enjoyment that I bring as King LiKuiD, host, DJ, and entrepreneur of the King LiKuiD Show, and hopefully what will come to grow King LiKuiD Global FM. So I just want to say that right now. There ain't no artificial intelligence that's going to replace me, and I'm pretty sure that those of y'all that are listening are not going to accept a replacement for King LiKuiD. So just getting that out of the way. But yeah, family, this is very, very interesting news. One of the reasons why I started the King LiKuiD Show is because in 1996, you had the passage of the Telecommunications Act by President Bill Clinton. And that act pretty much destroyed over 100 black-owned community radio stations. Prior to 95, you had about anywhere from 160 to 175 black-owned radio stations at any given time, because you have new radio stations that don't last long, just based on the count. But you can pretty much bet we had a good 160 to 170. Today, we've got around 65 that are left over, maybe 60 to 65. So that act had a huge impact on black-owned community radio, but community radio as a whole, as technology changed, but also as money and funding and how radio business was done. As we moved into the technology market, I'm sure y'all can imagine that, hey, as usual, black folk kind of get left behind. So that's one of the reasons why I'm sharing this story with y'all, family, because, you know, I have folks who come to me and say, hey, man, you know, we listen to the radio, you know, the same songs. We'd like to have something new, something fresh. This is something new and fresh that's being presented to you. And when you consider what I just showed, what I just shared with y'all in this article about, hey, you know, they want to move more towards AI and all this other kind of stuff. Now, for those of y'all who feel that mainstream radio is plastic, it's going to get even more plastic. So tune in to the King LiKuiD Show. Share the King LiKuiD Show with others. Keep authentic radio here. If you want real deal stuff, the community radio spot is the outlet to look for it. The online spot, the alternative media spot, the independent media spot is the spot to look for it. So that's this week's edition of King LiKuiD Show Weekly News. Don't y'all hate that sometimes? You know, you're announcing you're trying to do a show, and then all of a sudden somebody jumps in your mouth and they're trying to tie your tongue. Well, it lets y'all know at least I'm human. But yeah, that is this week's edition of the King LiKuiD Weekly Show News. And up next, I'm going to get on back into the mix. Appreciate all of y'all tuning in. And, oh yeah, one other thing, you know, if you had any doubt in your mind that, you know, this is real deal radio, hey, this is real deal radio. Mistakes happen when it's real, you know, so that's why I need all of y'all to keep on tuning in and supporting. So let's get on back into the mixing, family. This is the King LiKuiD Show. I am your man, King LiKuiD. Thank all of y'all for tuning in and supporting the show. I appreciate it. And remember, if we don't support our community resources, we won't have no community resources. Let's get on back into the music, and let's see what I got up my sleeve here. You are tuned into the King LiKuiD Show, and I'm your man, King LiKuiD.